Hi everybody, my name is Sherry. Welcome to my stamp studio. I have a fun project for you today. I'm going to do a little bit of a twist on the mix and mask. I did it yesterday. You may have caught my Instagram little reel thing because I was just about done and I thought it had a little bit of Wink Stella, and you know when you squeeze that brush too hard, that card's super shiny. So I'm hoping that the one I'm going to do for you today is a little, this one's beautiful. It just muted all of my work because it's all covered in glitter. So I'm going to do that for you, but I want to make sure that if you didn't catch this video, I think this is the one that posted just before this, that you do, especially if you're in card club. For my online card club girls, this is our first project for February. So I haven't even got January's out. We're really close to getting it. A few more die cuts to do and then to make your packets, which after the month after I do a try it class, when we do card club, it seems so easy. So it's January's is nearly ready to go, but you have till the 10th of February to sign up for February's. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to use the brayer. My card club, we do 6 projects, 3 of each design. My intent is that you learn stuff. So we often do artsy things or technique kind of things thrown in. You never know what's coming. It's always a surprise. So catch that video and you'll get all the details about card club. So today I'm going to use the mix and mask. So you may have noticed this. You may have seen some other people do it. It's a real fun bundle. You get the stamps, which I'll show you. Then you get all these dies, and I'm going to use all. I did cut these out. They're laying right here. I didn't end up putting them on the card. There's enough going on this card. You didn't need some more little flowers, but you do have those. And then it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 masks that go with it. So like it says, mix and mask. You can use all 3 pieces, or you can just use the stamps and color it in. You can just use the stamps and the dies, or you do the combination. When you buy the dies, they do include the mask. So you can get just the stamp set, or you can get the bundle. So here's the stamp set. Of course, it's always a little bit larger than what it looks. It has really good words. I'm going to use Love Endures All Things, but I like holding you close in my heart. I like embracing the beauty of you. It does have the little flowers if you're going to add them to your card that match the dies. I'm not using those. So here are the dies. I've already cut them out because there's a little bit to do on this card. So here's the label, and it's out of watercolor cardstock. And then you can see all of the leaves I have done in Wild Wheat, and the little flowers I did in Cajun Craze. It ended up being I would say an autumn colored card. It's the colors where I live. These are my favorite colors. So I think it just kind of happened. It wasn't my intent. And then here are the masks. And you can see mine are dirty because I have done this. You can reach it. This uses the blending brushes. And again, it had Wink Stella on it. And you want to know why it has Wink Stella on it? Because after I did the other one, there was so much Stella on my card, I had to move it on to something else. And this was sitting on my table. But this is just straight up with the blending brushes and the masks. And I'll probably finish this off and show you. But I think Stampin' Up! Has a video on how to use them with it. So here's a little secret. When you go to use them, see this little notch right here? That's how they all go. So then you don't have to do the twisty, 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 which direction kind of puzzle. And know if you got it right side up or right side down. So we're going to use them all with the little notch up in the left-hand corner. Then it's just a little bit faster that way. You would figure it out. It's not difficult unless you had them flipped the wrong way. And then I'm going to use watercolor cards. So I'm going to ink this up. You need to remember to clean it off quickly because StazOn is not great for your photopolymer stamps. So I will wash this with a wet wipe while I'm sitting here filming, and then after that I will use my StazOn cleaner. You also don't have a long time because it's flash drying, and if you talk with your stamping friends while it's on there before you push it over, then it's not going to, all the ink will dry on your stamp and not go onto your paper. So I want to make sure I get everywhere. I'm going to press top, middle, and bottom. And then watercolor cardstock also just needs a little bit more time to absorb the ink. So I'm just going to leave it on here a second. And there we're good. Now I'm going to wipe this off. Now let's take our tag. And like I said, I have Love Endures All Things. And you always just want to make sure that you shut your StazOn. You don't want to leave it open on the table while you're doing other stuff. some of my stamp pads, I get really busy and then my husband gets home from work and I come up the next day and I've left like my pebbled bath just open on the table. Those are fine and you can re-ink them. But StazOns are just a little persnickety because of the way the ink is. And that's what makes it good for watercolor. So I'll put the Lavenders All Things. Again, hold it just a second so the watercolor cardstock can absorb the ink. All beautiful. Okay, let me clean this off. Always make sure that you get those sealed up nice and tight as well, because the StazOn lids are tight, but it's to help keep them from drying up. Now we're gonna paint this, but we're gonna mix painting with the stencils. So normally the way that you would do it, not normally, but the way I think most of us assume first to do it is with a blending brush, like I said before. And I will do one with the blending brush, but this is just a little bit more of an artistic way. So we are going to use these. Remember, the notches will all go the same direction. That doesn't mean that they're the same direction that you stamped. So for the first one, I'm gonna move that. When you find your first, so we see this flower here, we gotta line it up. And once you have the first time, then you'll know, let's put this here. If you want to use, I can't talk and do it at the same time. If you want to use washi tape or something, you can. To me, it's not that big of a deal on ones like this because the watercolor look will kind of bleed a little bit. So I can see that right here. And if you want, you can put a little dot right here, but mine is kind of in the 18 at that angle. And if I do all of them now at that angle, that's exactly how they go and you don't have to mess with it. So I don't remember what colors I used for this. So we're just going to see. So let's go with Calypso Coral for this obviously is the largest amount of color on the flowers. So I'm going to go with my lightest color, and I'm going to start with a blending brush just to get the color on there. And I'm just going to kind of tap it. If you watched my tapping video with the brayer, I must be into tapping right now because I just want some color on it. And on this one, I'm going to try to go a little bit less is more than I did on my first one, but we'll see. I never go less is more in a video because I'm always like, oh, I don't know if they can see it. So sometimes all my video stuff ends up being a little bit darker. So we have this color tapped on here. And I'm also okay if there's a little bit of white because unlike other masks, this has the outline. So if color doesn't get anywhere, it's fine. So I'm not going to paint just yet because I don't want it to be all wet. But there is our Calypso Coral. And then I just work through the masks as they come. I just start with that one. So remember, our notch needs to go this direction. And look how easy that is. Just look for your notch and it goes that way. Then for this one, I picked Wild Wheat. And here's the reason, because this is the colors I had on the table from this one, because this paper, it's a celebration paper. The sheet that this will eventually get mounted on is Wild Wheat. And Wild Wheat, let's talk about it. It's gold, right? You think it's gold until you do a card like this, and then it does have a tinge of green to it, which is kind of fun. Got to see, all of my blending brushes look like they have the same colors on them because we're doing all this yellow and orange. So again, on this one, I'm just going to tap and add the color. But I'm going to show you something about this stencil. Yes, this is much lighter than my first one because I wasn't really sure how it was going to turn out. So see these right here? I think those are blossoms and they kind of match the die. There's one right here too, which on my other card, I didn't notice that was there until after I'd already turned it Wild Wheat. And Wild Wheat doesn't blend very well with Calypso Coral, or you'll get a nice shade of brown. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm just going to go back over here and grab my Calypso Coral. You want to kind of be careful because you don't want to get this excess Wild Wheat onto your blending brush. This one's easy. So we'll do this one a little bit darker since we can get it. Nobody says you have to use all one color when you do your stencils. So now we've got that. Let's go to this one and notch this way. And for this one, I really don't remember what color I did on this one. I think that I did Cajun Craze. But I'm going to switch it on this one, and I'm going to go copper because it's a little bit darker than Cajun. Cajun and Calypso Coral are very close, and then Calypso Coral and, yeah, Cajun are close, and then Cajun and copper are close. And we'll just see if this gives a little bit more. That's my green one. See, that looks brown. Doesn't that look brown? No, this is the one I have the darker oranges on. So this is just going to add some highlights to it. So when you're doing it, if you don't want to tape it, especially on this because we're pouncing, and I'm going to, you have a feeling like you shouldn't get everywhere, right? Because you don't want to cover up all of your first color, but that's what the stencil's doing for you. So you don't even have to worry. If you get all these, you're still going to have lots of the original color. And then on some of these, just right here in the middle, I'm going to give it a little smudge to get just a little bit more of that copper. Now on this one, I am going to take my water painter, and I'm just going to start some painting. So this got the color on there, and I'm just going to move some back in here. I didn't, my water painter has a nice flow of water coming out of it, but I didn't squeeze it to like have it be drippy. Because if you do, then you have to wait for it to dry before you can do the next level. You can also pull some of this water, the color off with the water, and just get it right down in. You want to make sure though that you're not going like underneath this stencil, that you're just going next to it. Just kind of move it all around and make sure you watercolor this that's in the middle. So that now we have this, and we're going to watercolor it all at the end. And then on my, on my sample that I made, I accidentally put all that Stella on it, so it kind of covered it up. Let's see what color we have next. Put our little notch the same direction. Once you've done a couple, then it's easier to figure out. So just like this, you can see again, this has the little buds in it. So I want the buds to be the same color as the flowers, but I don't necessarily need them to be dark. So see this ink right here? I'm just going to use it. We'll do these first. So we've got those. There's also some stems. See the stems? But my next color I'm going to do, I don't know if I used Pebbled Path. I don't know if I used Pecan Pie. Let's do Pecan. Yeah. Oops. Let's get the pecan and then see if I can figure out, again, I should move these over. That is my orange. So I'm going to do the same thing with the pecan that I just did with the copper. So I'm going to add the color. Make sure you get those stems. This one's a little bit harder, and because I have the big blending brush, I think the little one would get into the spots a little bit better, but since we're watercoloring, it doesn't matter. Push that color in there. And then get the little stems that are on your buds. And then I didn't clean this off, but it's got the copper, so we'll just pick this up first. And then I'm just going to add. Again, you don't want so much water on this time that you're not going to be able to go to your next stencil, which is our last one. And then we'll just kind of touch it all up with water at the end. This also kind of gets down into the little grooves a little bit better. For those of you that feel like you can't watercolor or you don't have the hang of it, try it like this and let this be your guide. And then you can move on one time and do the stamp set without the masks. And just color it in like that, because you'll kind of see how the shading should go. Isn't that pretty? But I know right now it looks very harsh, but once we start blending these with the water at the end, it will be beautiful. I think that this is where I used the copper on my last one. So we're going to switch colors. Let's go Pebbled Path. And this is just going to do our centers. Get that on there. And this, again, it's a little bit hard to get them in there, but my water painter is going to go right in and add that. So isn't that beautiful? But we're not done yet. So now is when we want to just add water and blend it all together. So now I can get my brush wetter. Actually, before I color it, it comes with the dye. So let me cut this out, and then that way I don't have to put it through my cut and emboss machine with it all damp. Okay, now I'll watercolor it. And it's watercolor cardstock, so if I put it through my cut and emboss machine, it wouldn't be terrible. But sometimes if you have little pieces of paper stuck in your cutting plates and your paper's damp, it can stick. So I'm just getting the water on here, which I know it looks like a lot of water, and it kind of is, but I want to re-moisten all this ink so it starts to move around. You can see once it's sat here a second, then it starts moving a little bit better. Now I don't want to go back and repaint it, but this is where it will kind of help you learn some watercolor techniques. Where I have these obvious copper lines, I'm just going to grab my copper pad and I'm just going to add a little bit, and there's a lot of water on here. So see how it just kind of runs when I put the water on it? And this is just going to kind of pull a medium copper color. It's not as dark as when I put it on the card, but it helps get rid of some of those little lines. And when you use the stencil, if you just want to use the blending brush, then don't choose colors that are a little bit more similar, and you won't have the line, because see right here. But like I said, this will help you figure out kind of where you should watercolor if you don't know how, because they put the lines in where the highlight should be. The next set of stencils do that. For this technique, we like the two really contrasting colors because we're able to kind of blend that in. Right here, there's some right there. And see where some of the white bits are? I like those. Now let's move on to our greens, which are really wild wheat, but it looks so much greener. So again, I'm gonna put some drops of water on to start getting the paper wet so the colors will move. I'm not gonna do the stems because they're pretty good. But especially on these leaves, look how pretty that is. Where I don't even remember again which color. I think, did we use pecan with the wild wheat? If you just add the water to the bottom, then it kind of just smears halfway up. And this one we're not going to need to use any other paint from something else because I like that. So there's a lot of water on here. If I wasn't filming, then I would just let it sit and dry. It doesn't take that long because the paper's so porous. This is wet. Let me get something dry. So when you sop the water up, you want to be a little bit careful because if you do too much, it will take all the color out, and we don't want it to remove all the color. But it also helps it give it a nice watercolor look. I just don't want the pools of water to run when I go to tape this, but we'll remember this time to tape on the card and not flip that over. So we'll set that aside. Isn't that pretty? So for my card base, I have copper clay. And then I have, this is the Celebration Softly Sophisticated folder, so you can get it free right now in January and February. So I did this on pecan. And then here's our little tag. So I want to have some color to this. I want it to look a little bit artsy. And because it stays on, we don't have to worry about how much water we put on. So I'm going to give this a good dollop in here. So we'll start with the darkest color. I'm just going to brush some on here. And then let's go, this time I'm going to use Cajun Craze. It's not on our design at all, but it's a good color that's very similar to the copper. It's a tad bit brighter, I think, than the copper. See, it's got a little bit more orange to it. And then let's go pecan pie. Let me get this water out of here, otherwise it'll... If you start with your lightest, then you don't have to do this, but my brush already had the copper on it. So there's her sentiment. I remember I have all of my leaves that I have die cut from the wild wheat. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some dimensionals on here. I don't want to, normally I would put them there. So if you're doing the card, just give that a couple seconds longer to dry. So I'll just stick them on here. And if your paper, if it's sopped through at all, the water, they don't stick great to dimensionals when it's a little bit damp. So another reason to wait. So we'll stick this on here. Totally up to you which direction you want to go. I kind of feel like this way this flower's upside down. So I kind of twisted it around on my other one, but no matter how you do it, a flower's upside down, and I want my sentiment to be here, so I wanted the most amount of room to be right here. You can see there's still quite a bit of water on that one. And these where there's still lines, that's what we're gonna fix with our Stella. And hopefully, well, I don't think there's a whole lot of ink left in the one I'm gonna use because I think I squeezed most of it out. So hopefully there's enough to get some. Just add my two-way glue, my fine tip glue. Stick those under there. And this you can overhang a little bit because the pecan panel is smaller than our card front. So if they go off the edge a little bit, it's fine. add our buds. I know that my sentiment's going to go there. That's why I'm leaving that empty. All we need the glue for. On my other one, I did use my seal. It just is a little bit overkill because those are pretty thin. Now for my, there's so many ribbons, the twines, the thread. We have so many ribbons that would look good on this card. But this is new and it's glittery and it looks really pretty with the Stella when it doesn't happen to be too much. So this is the new leather metallic trim. It's part of the Nature's Sweetness. Those of you that are in Card Club are getting this in your January packets. We will get those in the mail to you on Saturday. They're just about done, but we're going to a Pacer game tonight. I have a team Zoom tomorrow. I have camp tomorrow. This does need this, but I know my sentiment's going to go right here, so that's where I'm going to put the stuff to hold it. We have a bridal shower on Saturday. So I have clotted my cream for some scones. And I know I'm the mother of the bride and I don't have to bring stuff, but I wanted to. My Stampin' friends are throwing this shower. And I have lemon curd that has to be made. I have presents that have to be wrapped. So I was hoping to get the things done before, but sometimes I don't look at the cards and think about my week, and so there are a lot of die cuts and some tiny ones, and it's taken us a lot longer than we anticipated to get the die cut done. So we're 80% done, but last night my husband was starving. We die cut from when he got home until he couldn't take it anymore at about 8:30. So a good 4 hours, the two of us die cutting, and it didn't get it done. I thought it would be done in one night. But it's coming. Your leather trim is coming, and then we'll get them in the mail. Pack them up tomorrow night, and then he can drop them at the post office on Saturday while I'm at the shower. Originally, I thought I would take them before the shower, and then I thought, no, I'm going to be dressed in metallic, and I have to get out kind of early. Oops, we've lost some things. This is why I like to use, see the glue. It just hadn't had time to set. So for video purposes, it's easier to use that, but then sometimes you get those gummies. Wiped up where the water was. Now, when you use the leathers, the leather trim, it's kind of thick and it kind of has a life of its own. So make sure that you have enough adhesive right there. And then we're going to pull that whole thing because, again, the watercolor cardstock is thick. And if it bends at all, then you don't want it to pull this off your card. Go. And then I'm going to grab so on my other card, here's what happened. I wanted to use the cork, and I might use the cork now because it's also what's coming in Card Club and because I love those little cork embellishments that we have. But after I put my Stella on, you could no longer see the centers of my flowers because I made such a hot mess of it. So we will add the Stella, and then we'll see if we're able to see the centers of my flowers. And if you can't, then I'll use the cork. But there was so much Stella that we just lost the black definition. So we'll try it. Oh, there's still some in here. I'm not going to put it on the middle. And this helps blend together, and that's still wet. So that I might have to wait a second. So I'm doing all of my Calypso Coral ones first, just in case anything's still wet because of the watercolor. That way you're not smearing color on color. Yeah, this is much better. We might be able to, you can still see those, right? This is all the paint that's left in here from when I squeezed it. I had comments from lots of you that has also happened to you. And you know, you really should squeeze it onto not the top of your card. But the thing is with Stella, you don't want to waste it, right? Get this some down here. And then we'll move to this. This one still has hardly any Stella because it's wet, and I'll add it before I take the pictures. That's a wet one. Because some of you said there's no such thing as too much Stella, which is true. How can you have too much sparkle until your it covers up your design? Because it is very gold when you have a lot of it. This needs one more dimensional right there. So it's too much when you go to all the work to stamp and paint and watercolor, and then you squirt that on there and you can no longer see it. And I'll show you. You'll see what I mean in a second when I show you. There, that's better. So on my other one, I chose the classic matte dots, and I'll show you. I put them back in the centers of my flowers, and that gave me some centers. On this one, we will do the cork, and these come with the suite that has the leather trim, which on my other one, I did move this over. Let me see if I still can. Nope, it's not going to move. My other one, you can see more of the stuff because I wasn't talking, and I made sure that that was showing on both sides. Maybe a tiny bit more of that is showing. But these are little cork rounds that kind of go with this 70s avocado burnt orange scheme that we have going on, which are my favorite colors. And I have just ordered some orange refrigerator panels for my kitchen, because I could have an avocado and orange kitchen and be quite happy. But we're doing, it's more of a Cajun, it's burnt orange. But our kitchen itself, we have painted it more of a peacock. They're really pretty together. So here's this one. This one does need the Stella. But you can even see how much darker this is. Once the Stella gets up close, it just starts to cover it up. Here's the one where I just put way too much. So see, you totally lost the centers of my flowers. And because there was so much Stella, it was wet. Like wet. In fact, when I posted it, it still hadn't dried all the way, and a couple of you asked, is that still wet? Because there were puddles of it, and I tried to move it all around as much as I could. But you can see where I kind of dropped it. Like I picked it up and I moved it to spots, hoping that that wouldn't happen. But where the Stella hit, it made some of the color disappear. But I put all that work into it, and it is super shiny. And in person, I think on camera, it's not going to show up well at all. And you could add both the cork and the black centers. I kind of like the black centers, and it wouldn't have occurred to me at all if it wasn't trying to fix my disaster. You know, we've all been there. Don't think that those of us who make videos don't make mistakes, because we just don't film those. Although I did show you this one. Everybody have a great day, and I will catch you back here later next week. Bye.